Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the second shelf and to another recent reads on Sunday, which is a common feature on this channel, the recent reads on Sunday, but will be a little bit different today, and I'll explain why in a minute. I hope you're all doing well. I'm enjoying quite a bright and sunny day today, so I will try to film this quickly as possible. I mean, I'm never quick in videos, but I will try to, get the filming going and then maybe go out and take a walk and enjoy the sunshine for a bit because it's supposed to be good for you, vitamin D and all that. Anyway, on to the books. And the first book is actually 3 books because it's a series. Yeah, and it's a reread. Can you imagine? I reread a whole series and it's not for the first time. That can only be N.K. Jemisin, the Broken Earth series, with the first book, the 5th season, the second book, Obelisk Gate, and the last book, The Stone Sky, published between 2015 and 2017 or something. And it is so far the one fantasy series that I absolutely love. Not only did I read the whole series, I mean, it's 3 books, okay, shouldn't pat myself on the shoulder too much, but I still, you know me and series, it's not oftentimes it's not working, and even if there is a cliffhanger on after the first book, I still don't continue with the series, but this one was different. I flew through it, and it's me and fantasy, not good match mostly, but this one is absolutely different. N.K. Jemisin is a Black American author, and I read 1 or 2 other books by her that didn't work as well, I have to admit, but there is one series. Well, I'm babbling, and never mind. Let's get into the Broken Earth series. It is a real series if you haven't read it. So in other words, each of the 2 books, the first and the second book, will end with a cliffhanger. So you will not get the story resolved in the first or the second book. So beware of that when you start. That doesn't mean that you can't read the first book on its own. It's fantastic on its own, but it is made clear in the end, towards the end of the book, and certainly the last couple of pages, that there is something to come. So if you want to commit to all 3, that's probably best. It's set in this, we don't really know whether it's it could be a future Earth, where the continents collided again and formed one big continent, as they did, in very, very, very ancient times. But it's one big continental mass, and it's called the Stillness, which is kind of a joke because the Earth is riddled with natural disasters, especially earthquakes and volcanoes and things like that. But they call it the Stillness because there are 2 kinds of people, 2 kinds of human beings living in the stillness, and the one are the regular humans, the real humans. They are still, and the others are the Rogas or origins, and they can harness the energy of the earth, and they can move mountains, quite literally. And they are despised, even though you sometimes need them. They are kept under control by another caste of people called the Guardians. And then you have this not quite human population, the Stone Eaters. And the book opens, or the series opens, when disaster hits, the famous 5th season. So everything goes haywire, volcanoes, earthquakes, the sun is darkened, and it will take years, maybe even a decennia, tens of years before the sun will come back. And then we follow a couple of main characters, focusing on one woman, Esun, who is one of these origins or Rogas, who can harness the earth, and she is quite skilled at that. And we follow her journey trying to save the earth and make sense of these weird thingies that are in the sky, kind of like big jewels, and they're called obelisks. And over the course of the 3 books, we will learn how the stillness came to be and why there is so much natural disaster. What's the origin of that? We will also learn about a previous civilization, so the history of the stillness, and there will be a resolution in the end. Yeah, I absolutely adore this series. I think first of all, it's really well written, but it's one of the things that often bugs me with these huge high fantasy series that you get in the beginning. You get a lot of info dump because you have to the writer has to establish this world and needs you to understand what the people do, how they dress, what the magic system is like, and that is, for me at least, I always find that quite boring. And this one is different. The author just has the guts to throw you in there, and you just have to have the guts and follow along. And everything will be explained at some point, but not right away. I love the characters, how we learn about the characters very slowly, the relationship between characters. Yeah, so far it's the one and only fantasy series that I ever gave 5 stars to. And as you know, if you're following my channel, I'm trying, to find other fantasy series that I might like, and I try to read at least one every month or every 2 months, but so far this is just unparalleled, and I reread it now for the 3rd time, the whole series. You can imagine how much I must like it if I do that. So if you haven't read the 5th season, please give it a try, even if you are like me and you're not normally a fantasy reader. The next book I want to talk to you about that I finished recently, to be quite honest, was the end of February that I finished it, but I forgot to mention the book for some reason in my last recent reads, and that is Louise Erdrich, La Rose, which was published in 2016. And as you know, if you follow along, I am reading all of Erdrich's novels in publication order, and together with Terry, who used to have a channel, Miss Terry B, and we are almost done. This was the 14th book we read in February, and we only have March and April to go, and then we will have read all of the 16 novels of Louise Erdrich. Yeah. This one is the 3rd one in her so-called Justice series, which is not a series like the Broken Earth series. So they're standalones. They're just some of the same characters. It's the same setting, but you don't need to read the other 2 in order to read this one. This is about a family tragedy, and I'll give you the premise. If you don't want to know anything about the book, and not even the premise, you shouldn't watch my videos, because I always give the premise, and I don't consider it a spoiler if it's revealed in the first 10 or 20 pages of a book, just so that you know. But anyway, so this is about 2 families who are friends, who live on a reservation, and they both have children. And one day, the father of one family, by accident, kills the son of the other family. And in order to find redemption and a form of not retribution, but repayment almost, but that's also not quite the right word. But anyway, so the family, the father who killed the son of the other family and his wife, they decide to, quote unquote, give their son to the other family to live. And this child is called La Rose. And it turns out that La Rose is a name given to a specific person in each generation that has yeah, I don't want to call it supernatural abilities, but who is somewhat different. And in the course of the book, we learn how the two families deal with this situation, with the grief about the loss of the son, with the guilt on the side of the father, the man who killed his friend's son. But we also learn the history of the La Roses, so the genealogy, if you will, of the people in this family who were given the name La Rose and what kind of history is behind that. I really enjoyed this one. I had difficulties, if you remember, with the other two of the Justice series. Didn't like them that much, but this one really hit home for me. The themes, to think about how we deal with these kind of acts that you accidentally kill somebody. What do you have to do as quote unquote repayment? I love the character, the history of this person La Rose in each generation. So yeah, this was a real Erdrich success for me. And the next three books I only want to briefly mention so that I can, get a pat on the shoulder, because I read three more books, but I can't talk about them because I read them for the BookTube Prize. I'm a judge for the nonfiction category, and we are in the octafinals, and I read all 6 of my books. Yeah. And this weekend I will have to think about the ranking, because it's not that easy, I have to tell you. But the 3 books I finished are Isabel Wilkerson's Caste, an exploration of racism within a new structure, or no, that sounds odd. She looks at racism by applying a system that we know from, for instance, Indian society, caste, and then sees how that fits the structure of racism. The second one is a memoir. And that is a book that for the life of me, and I don't know why, I can't get the name of the author right. I always have a turn the syllables. It's Meredith Talusan. Meredith Talusan, Fairest. Meredith Talusan is a trans woman who transitioned from man to woman when she was in college, and she's from the Philippines, and she's also an albino. And this is a memoir of her transition and of growing up she grew up as a child in the Philippines and then moved to the United States. And the third book is not really a memoir. It's more a collection of memoiristic essays, I would say, and it's called Minor Feelings by Cathy Park Hong. And Cathy Park Hong is also an American author, a poet originally from Korean descent. So she was born in America, but her parents were born in Korea. And this is, like I said, it's not really a memoir telling, a straightforward story, but it's more a combination, a collection of essays about her life. So these 3 books will have to rank together with the other 3 that I already read in February, and I will do that this weekend. Yeah, Robert, I'm on time. And that's when we get to the part that is unusual for a recent reads on Sunday, because I thought I could only talk about the Broken Earth trilogy and the La Rose and the other 3 books I read. I couldn't talk about. Why not talk about the books that I'm currently reading? Because I don't want to, have you watch a video that is only 10 minutes. I mean, that doesn't make sense now, does it? Anyway, the 2 books I'm currently reading, this is the first one, Natalie Haynes' Pandora's Jar, which was published last year. It's a non-fiction book about what you see here, women in Greek myth. And I'm reading this for Women's History Month, because March is Women's History Month. And I'm fascinated, always have been fascinated by Greek mythology. And in this book, Natalie Haynes explores very familiar women in Greek myth, like Helen or Clytemnestra, Medea, Medusa, women we are familiar with. And she explores for each woman whether we have the right myth, whether there are different stories to be told. I think I have read two women, Jocasta and Helen, and I'm really enjoying this. I think you need to have an interest in mythology. If mythology bores you, and Greek mythology in particular, you will not, this will not be the book for you. But if you like Greek mythology, and if you like books about female characters in Greek mythology, let's say you've read Circe by Madeline Miller and you like that one, or you read Natalie Haynes's book A Thousand Ships about the Trojan War from a female perspective, then I think this nonfiction about women in Greek myth, it will appeal to you, just as it appealed to me. And the other book that I'm reading is also a nonfiction, and that is Susan Strait in the Country of Women, which was published a little while ago. I'm not quite sure when, and I should have looked that up. That is very bad preparation on my part. You will find you will find the correct publication date in the description box. But this was a present given to me by Amelia, who doesn't have a booktube channel but comments a lot, and it's a memoir by Susan Strait, is a white woman, an author. She wrote 8 novels or something. She was born in 1960, and she married a black basketball player whom they went to college together, and this is the history and the story of the women in both families. So the mother, grandmother in her family, but also in his family. And I'm about a third in, and so far I'm really enjoying it very much. I like the writing. I like the stories about these various women, the life they were leading, women coming from a different country or moving from a ranch to the city. Yeah, it's captivating. So far, I'm really, really enjoying it. And I thought I'm going to share these 2 books with you. My not recent reads, but current reads. Anyway, that was my recent reads on Sunday with a little twist. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it. As always, I'm looking forward to your comments about your recent reads, or about comments about the books that I showed. No matter what, I'm always looking forward to your comments, and I'll see you all soon in the next one.